Hi! On the Woodpecker today, I'm going to show you how I build my new dresser. It's time now to replace the dresser in my bedroom. Maybe some of you remember the nightstand I made last spring. Now I'm building my second piece of bedroom furniture, a dresser with 6 drawers. I started by making all the legs for my next 2 bedroom projects. To do so, I surface a piece of mahogany straight on 4 sides. Then I cut it into 8 pieces for all the legs. On the Fine Woodworking website, you can find a cove calculator, and I fill out the form with my own specifications. The calculator gives me the fence angle and the blade tilt angle. I start by tilting my table saw blade to 41 degrees. Then I raise the blade 1 1/4 inches. I find the maximum distance the blade will cut and draw a pencil line on my table saw. To see it more clearly, I put blue tape on the line. Then I set the miter gauge at 65 degrees. I draw another line on the table saw using a framing square and a 1/2 inch setup block. This line is a reference for the cove guide. Then I put the guide exactly on the line and clamp it with 2 mag switches. I put one of the leg blanks in the guide and tighten the knob. Each corner is then secured with a clamp. I know this will make a lot of dust, so I'll try to catch it at the source. Now I'm ready to cut a cove on all the legs. I only cut 1/16 of an inch each pass. On the last pass, I barely raise the blade so the surface will be smoother. Even with the dust collector hose in the back, the shop fills up with dust. Now it's time to sand all the saw blade marks, using my linear sander with a mold that I made. This mold is made from a pool noodle cut to the length of a sheet of sandpaper. I cut one side straight and glue this to a piece of plywood with contact cement. Under the plywood, I glue a sheet of sandpaper so I can use it to grip the sander. To finish it all, I stick a sheet of Velcro on the noodle so I'll be able to attach a sheet of sandpaper to it. This is how I sand all the coves of all the legs. Then I mark the center of the pieces and stick a sheet of clear MacTac onto them. I glue the leg patterns on the center of all the pieces. Now I can mark the length of the legs. I draw a 45-degree line on all the pieces, just to be sure not to goof up. Then I cut each end at 45 degrees. I cut the legs fancy curve on the bandsaw. Here you can get a glimpse at what they will look like, though they're far from finished. I need to sand all the curves. The bottom part of each leg was there just to help me cut and sand the legs. So now I can cut them off. I make a round over on the bottom and the top of the legs using a block plane. Now I glue the pieces together so they can become the legs. Everything is clamped with blue tape. When the glue is dry, I remove the Mac tack, and with it comes the glue squeeze out. I predicted the legs wouldn't be perfectly square, and I was right. They're at 91 degrees. So I cut corner blocks at 1 degree. After the first cut, I check the angle. Then I cut the rest. Each of them is glued inside the leg and held with only one clamp. When the glue is dry, I sand everything flush. I rework the top and bottom roundovers and give the legs a last sanding. Now I can start working on the dresser itself. The first thing to do is find old panels. I'll try to show some of the steps needed to finish this dresser, without spending too much time on any of them. After sanding the biggest panels, I roughly cut the raised panel and the rest of the wood I need, so I can plane them in the thickness planer. It then becomes a marathon of cutting all the rails and stiles. When that's done, I make all the domino joinery needed. I temporarily assemble the frames and route a chamfer inside. Then I route a groove inside all the rails and stiles for the raised panel. After that, I measure inside the grooves and cut the panel. I finish the panels by routing their raised profile. As expected, when working with reclaimed wood, screw holes pop up here and there, so I fill them with lacquer sticks. I sand and try the panels in their frame. Now that I'm satisfied, I wipe on a coat of shellac everywhere on the panels. Now I can start the joinery for the rest of the dresser. I went a little bit too fast here and forgot to lower the depth of cut of the domino, and I went right through the back stile. To correct that, I make a simple pattern, and with the help of inlay bushing, I route away some wood around the hole. Now that I have a nice hole, I remove the big bushing and route the exterior of the pattern on another piece of wood. I end up with a piece which I'll use as a wood plug, but I have to cut it before I can use it. Et voila, the hole is plugged. I just need to wait for the glue to dry, then I plane off the excess wood. This is the new look of the back stile, so I'll see this mistake each time I check the back of the dresser. Now I can glue the 3 frames. I carve my name on the back rail using my pantograph. It's now time to sand all the interior parts of all the frames. I make 6 web frames for the interior of the dresser. Their construction is fairly similar to the exterior frames. When they're all glued up, I mark the placement for the mortises, which will hold the frames into the case, and do them. Before gluing everything together, I make the mortises for the cabinet maker buttons that I'll use to hold up the top of the dresser. I can finally start gluing all the pieces together. Again, I'm using slow cure epoxy thickened with silica powder. I use a 90-minute epoxy glue because I know it will take me a lot of time to glue all those pieces together. When the box is glued, I can glue the front wood strip. Here you can see all the front pieces clamped. Now I cut the base of the dresser. Once the base is ready, I notice that my design is a bit too big. So I recut the base to make it smaller. When the glue is dry, I stick the leg half an inch from the side with double-sided tape. Then I mark and make all the domino holes which will hold the legs to the base. When I'm finished, I label each leg. Now I can mark, drill, and temporarily screw the base to the case. Then I cut the dresser top. I route a roundover on all the edges of the base and top. I make the cabinet maker buttons and mark where I'll drill their holes and drill them. I label each button so I won't mix them up later on. I leave the top in place and mark the screw holes. Then I drill pilot holes. I make all the drawers. See, it's that easy making 6 drawers. Since everything is finished, I do a final sanding on the dresser. I temporarily reinstall the base and top, route and cut some moldings. When they're all cut to size, I glue them, but only on the case. Once again, I remove the top and base and clean every piece of the dresser with alcohol. When everything is clean, I wipe on a coat of shellac everywhere, starting with the interior of the dresser. Then the exterior, all the loose pieces. And finally, the drawers. I just wipe a coat of shellac for now, so I can start the final assembly. With my daughter's help, the dresser is set gently on the ground. Then I install the legs. With the aid of a new helper, I carefully carry the dresser over to our bedroom. Finally, after 3 months of work, it's where it's supposed to be. Since I have even more space than before, I can fill it with ridiculous, useless stuff. Here's my new bedroom dresser. I hope you liked this episode, and we'll be seeing each other again soon for another episode of the Woodpecker.